elections, and of course, what does that mean? Of course, even as we approach the 2027 general elections. Now, joining me this morning in studio is Sue Morema, who's an engineer and also a youth leader under UDA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Martin.
And thank you so much for making time to be with us this morning.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
All right. Now, just right next to him is Timothy Tobiko, who's a digital journalist. Good morning.
Good morning, Martin.
And thank you so much for being here this particular morning. Now, gentlemen, even as we build the basis of this particular conversation, to start with you, Mr. Moreno, do tell us about what do you make of the just concluded election?
I think the just concluded by-election smear the fact that the sitting government at the moment is positioning itself ahead of the 2027 election against all the other competitors who are on board, and I think that it is a good start for the journey in 2027 to determine who still runs this country in terms of the political aspect. Yeah.
All right. Now, Tobiko, let's talk about the just concluded by-elections. You know, this was a litmus test for the IEBC, yes. And bearing in mind that they were just, sworn in just the other day. Now, this marks their first by-elections. Now, what does this mean, for the IEBC in 2027? What's your take on the just concluded by-elections, that the IEBC actually held?
Well, thank you so much, Martin, for having me.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a pleasure being here now for the second time, and of course just dissecting matters of national interest, yes, for the benefit of the common mwananchi. Well, I'd say that it is quite something for IEBC, and of course, as you said, it is a litmus test for IEBC, and of course for the first timers in the politics of the country. But for IEBC specifically, I'd say that in my observation of the just concluded by-elections, I think they have a lot of things to do. And of course, there are so many elements that we do not want, or we would not wish to see come 2027. Because yesterday we saw pockets of violence and intimidation of voters and even candidates across the country in various polling stations. And of course, there is both the work of the IEBC and the National Police Service to make sure that the whole process, which is a democratic process, goes on without any form of disturbances, either from the government side or from the opposition side. So IEBC has a lot to do and a lot to learn now that we only have 18 months to the general elections, that is 2027. And of course, on the general aspect of the yesterday's polls, well, I think the opposition as well as the government have made their statements. And of course, if we look at keenly, I think it's something that we'll also look at in the course of our discussion. The various, results that we've gotten. There are statements made because, the kind of wins that people are getting out here, they should not be proud at all.
And now at it, Mr. Morema, we've seen both parties invested in, these by-elections. You look at, the ruling party, that is the UDA, and of course the opposition were investing, even bearing in mind, the UDA allied to President William Ruto. We saw the deputy president was there, campaigning for, in Mbeere North, for Leo Amodende. And of course, this actually means it was a high-stake by-election. Now, has this shifted to, the interest of the mwananchi, or is this testing who has the biggest muscle?
According to the Kenyan mode of politics, it is more of who is who and your affiliation to. And on this by-election, we've seen all the candidates trying to prove their muscle, their political muscle, in terms of who is going to get this seat, because this seat means that you have a margin or a greater chance in the 2027 general election. And as a party in UDA, I would say that the Mbeere North constituency was a strategic litmus, as you state, let me quote and quote, and you saw the DP, the DP Kithure Kindiki was present on the ground to mobilize and rally votes for the Mbeere North member of parliament allied to UDA. We saw the other the governor, the senator there, and categorically, if we go back, you would notice that the president had the opportunity to choose any other person who is not serving in office, but he went for the CS position. He gave it to Ruku because number one, this serves as a good point for the president to determine his stronghold, whether he still has a ruling say in the coming election in 2027, and as a party where we stand at. And positioning the DP there was a test to see whether is the man fit to deliver where he comes from. And I think as UDA, the win comes in big for us because come 2027, we are solidified that the mountain still listens to the government, the sitting government. And we have seen the kind of numbers we have mobilized, and we know where we are going to adjust so that we may increase our numbers come 2027.
All right. Now, Mr. Tobiko,
yes.
Do you share the same thoughts as Mr. Morema? You know, having in mind, you know, that you know both parties actually have invested so much. Of course, we saw that you know the former DP and DCP party leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, actually spent almost a week in Ballot, you know, drumming support for Newton Karaoke, alias Karish. Now, from where you sit, has the narrative changed from the interest of the Mwananchi to testing who was the biggest muscle?
Well, I think I'll have two takes on this because for the first one, or with my first take on this would be, it was so unnecessary to have by-elections in Mbeere North. It was so unnecessary because Mbeere North had a sitting member of parliament, and just like my friend here, Engineer Shu, has said, the president wanted to test waters with Mount Kenya, and economically speaking, that was not a good move because you can imagine the kind of money that is the common Mwananchi's taxpayers' money being used to do the politics in Mount Kenya just to make sure or to test the waters for the president, His Excellency the President William Ruto. So in my own view, I think it was so unnecessary to have elections in Mbeere North, but that said and done, we had those by-elections there. And of course, we saw the two big wigs of Mount Kenya politics, that is now the DP, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and of course, the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, wrestle out who is who in the Mount Kenya region. And, the number speaks for themselves. Well, I think Wabudende won with 15,802 or 15. The numbers
15,802.
802.
Yeah.
And Karish won with 15,400 and something. So the difference is quite,
a slight
difference. Yeah. And of course, I think in my own perspective, I'd not want to say that, the DP Kithure Kindiki actually has a say in Mount Kenya because of the numbers and the figures they have both commanded. And there is still work ahead for both of them to make sure that they have a commanding, figure behind them. Because, if Kithure Kindiki had really captured the mountain, then my friend here would tell me that they would have commanding figures.
It is a win is a win when it comes to competition. Whether it is a small margin or a larger margin, a win is a win when it comes to any competition. And when I stated that it was a litmus test, we have very competent people who hold office and very competent people who do not hold office. If the president thought that Ruku is the man to hold that job, then he weighed his options and he saw he's the man fit to hold office. It was not a matter of necessity.
Let me ask you something, because we have the numbers, of course.
Yes.
If you do your simple mathematics, the difference is quite something like not more than 500 votes, right? So what does that mean to you in relation to DP Kithure Kindiki now? 500 votes. That is, they say maybe one day in politics is a very long day. and also one day in politics is a very short time.
You know, my good friend here, Timothy, is merely stating facts the way they are. And based on this was an MP seat,
Yes.
and not a hotly contested presidential seat.
Yeah.
And you know, the votes garnered there were 15,802. When you say the difference is small, you know, to us it is a very big win, because if you add the 15,802 from the mountain region and other parts of Mount Kenya, we are headed somewhere as a party. So we can't reduce this into you know, a constituency thing. We have to look at the bigger picture ahead of the 2027 election, and that is the essence as to why we saw all the heat and all the tantrums all over in social media.
All right, fair enough. Tobiko,
All right.
at the same time, you know, one would hope that the greatest interest of any leader is actually the interest of Mwananchi, and you know, the members of parliaments at times are very loud when it comes to impeachment of deputy, deputy governor, and matters to do with politics. They're very loud. But do you think, you know, the narrative has shifted from the interest of the Mwananchi?
Well, I think if I've understood you well, the narrative, of course, in regards to these polls that I've just concluded, I think it was more of, especially when we, you know, segregate this conversation now to the fight, quote unquote, the fight in Mount Kenya for who is who in Mount Kenya. I think it was more of, you know, who has a say. And the interest, in my own view, was not on the common Mwananchi, because you'd remember very well that, you know, I'd not like to mention names, but of course it's in the public domain, political leaders, you know, campaigning and saying that if you don't elect this kind of person or this particular candidate, then you would not be able to get this development, you know, projects and stuff like that, because we even saw or, you know, heard that there are, you know, development projects being promised, and things like, you know, poles of electric poles and, you know, graders that, you know, construct these roads were taken into such constituencies like Mbeere North. And of course, you know, such machineries are only available to the government. So, and that was something like a blackmail. If you don't elect this kind of candidate, then you wouldn't be able to get this kind of a development. So the focus in this kind of elections and the politicking around it has shifted. Of course, it's not on the Mwananchi as it is, because if you use you know, things like development projects to blackmail on such democratic matters, then it is no longer, again, the interest is no longer on the common Mwananchi. So I'd say in a nutshell that you know, these elections has been on personal interest, and of course that is both on the opposition and largely on the government side, which controls a lot of you know, state machineries on development.
All right, Mr. Mrema, I can see you want to raise.
You know, my brother here is going corners and corners. When you say in the public domain, there are people who have had an history and it is out there.
Okay.
And you said you're not mentioning them. Let us mention names. For instance, the DP, the former DP Gachagua.
Yeah.
He talked about shares. What happens to the people who do not have the numbers to come on the table to negotiate? Does it mean that development is not getting to them? Does it mean because they do not have numbers, they're not rightfully mad to be given development from the national government?
And you speak about shares, you're speaking about, you know, now coming into tribes.
Yes. And that man is a tribesman. The same way he is trying to avoid to mention that name shows that, you know, saying that, you know, some of the machinery were taken to Mbeere North. I mean, they have a working governor. They have MCAs. It can be any other person who says that development is pro to everyone. It is their right. But, and the machinery are available. They see the governor is not somebody who is pro or anti-government. They come from the government.
But let's say it was so strategic that those machineries of development were taken to Mbeere North specifically, and of course it was during this electioneering period. And one would say that, you know, that one would align to the fact that Mbeere North is going into these by-elections. And of course, it would necessarily mean that, you know, because we are going into these polls and these people are into the ballot, then there is a government candidate, and these are what, you know, are available for him if you elect him inside. Well, let me mention this specifically and categorically, saying that, you know, it's not that I do not want to mention DP, former DP, that is Rigathi Gachagua. Of course, he's supposed to be mentioned and stuff like that, but on Mbeere North specifically, we all saw that there was a promise of development if they elected, you know, Leo Mudende. Well, fortunately for them,
if my brother states that,
fortunately for them, they have.
You need to show proof that it was said by who and bring them to record. And for a fact, if you're speaking about Mbeere North, we remember Gachagua was on a trip in the US. What did he say? I'm cutting short my trip to come and focus on the by-election.
Well,
we have seen the focus waiters. It is focusless. When you come without an agenda, that, you know, you always find things to blame on, you know, machinery and all other things. It is very public, and for the people of Mbeere North, that, you know, development is there for you. That is why we are there as leaders for you.
Fair enough. Now, even as we take a look on the political parties, you know, there are you know, people from the Kenya Kwanza and the opposition actually joined forces. Now, you know, Gachagua is working with Eugene Wamalwa and, of course, Justin Muturi. Now, has, you know, this changed to, you know, how can someone remain in power? You know, recently we could see what Kenya Kwanza believed recently, ODM didn't believe so, but now we see alliances in the likes of the United Opposition. Is this a strategy to remain in power?
All right. To me, it is not a strategy to remain in power, but a strategy to unify and unite the broader-based regions and communities and bringing them into power. When we talk about broad-based, we are talking about reaching out and diversifying the parties' agendas to other parties and bringing them on board so that we align with the common blueprint of working for the Mwananchi. And on this election, we also that the united opposition and also the broad-based government were working together, and on different sides, that is. And for the united opposition, it was to prove a point that, you know, we can also deliver. But for the united, for the broad-based government, it was for, you know, bringing a joint team to work for the common Mwananchi, regardless of where you are from, regardless of your party, and regardless of your affiliation. So we're all bringing out so that we can diversify the party's agendas and blueprint to every other person.
Right. Now, speaking about the youth, we saw in 2024 the youth, you know, came up and rejected the finance bill, and one will say that the Mwananchi has finally understood, you know, the power they have. But have they? Because, you know, in yesterday's by-elections, you could see that the youth were used, you know, to cause violence. Do the youth know their power?
Okay. In my honest opinion, not based on the party's affiliation, but my honest opinion, I think still as a youth, we are not yet fully aware of our power. We are not yet fully aware of, you know, what we hold in the society. And when we go back to the 2024, the finance bill, on my honest opinion, most of the people did not understand quite well what the finance bill entailed, and for the opposition, it was an easy way of, you know, inciting on or using that opportunity to fight the government. And when we talk about that, coming to think, the former sitting chair of the appropriation committee was Ndidi Nyoro. Ndidi Nyoro comes from the Mount Kenya region. When he held that office in parliament, he never at one point spoke about the finance bill, which he created, drafted, and presented to the committee. The president was the final person to sign or not to sign, but the blame went to the president. So when we're talking about the youth and understanding their power, they need to understand where laws are formulated, where all these things are drafted, where the committee, which committees handle all these, so that when it comes to a breakdown of what happens, we are fully aware. But as of now, as it stands, the youth, we are not very much aware of our power. And it is even evident according to the just recent concluded by election. The opening for IBC was there for months. And out of that, only 90,000 people, let's say 100,000 people registered. Where were the youth? We see them online saying one term, and all the other shenanigans out there. But when it comes to the real thing on the ground, they are not there to be seen. All right.
Now, Tobiko, do you share the same thoughts? During the 2024, we saw the uprising of the younger generations, rejecting the finance bill. Also, that was witnessed in, the better part of 2025. And one would say, the Mwananchi has actually recognized the power they have, but have they, having seen that the recent campaign trails where you could see violence in the campaign trails, where you could see the United Opposition say that they were accosted by, road youth, how do the youth actually know their power?
Well, of course, the youths know their power, and of course, that was very evident in 2024 by Gen Z uprising. Yeah. And they made a statement by then, and of course, but 1 year later, nothing seemed to have changed, but the cabinet changed, and of course people benefited from such, and of course it gave birth to the broad-based government and whatnot. But in relation to the elections, there's still a lot to be done, especially by the youths and for the youths, by agencies like IBC in terms of more civic education on the importance to register as voters and turn out and vote, because yesterday there was voter apathy in some of the areas, and it was also evident that the youth specifically were more or less very few in the polling stations. And I concur with my friend here saying that the voter turnout or the registration process, continuous registration process that was launched by IEBC was not successful on the youth side because of the numbers we saw. And of course, I'd not rule out the fact that the youths have their power, they understand their power, but there is that feeling, in my opinion, that people tend to know this power. They understand the constitution and the power they hold. But at the end of the day, people would say that, I have this power, I have this vote, but would my vote count if I turn to vote or, to make a decision in the ballot? Would my vote turn to make sense? So at the end of the day, this person, anashindwa kutokea kupiga kura and stuff like that. So I'd say that the youths understand their power, and that power would only make sense if there is more civic education on the importance of turning out to make a statement at the ballots, and of course to make their own preferred choice of candidates they want.
Right, and in regards to the just concluded by-elections, you could hear, the former deputy president, who also doubles up as the Democratic for Citizens Party leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, not once saying that, ukipewa pesa kula, lakini ukipiga kura, ujue unapigia nani. Now, do you think, that has been the culture anyway, do you think that this can change anytime soon?
I don't think so, but let me just take you back. And of course, on the pockets of violence we saw yesterday, I was following up the by-elections, and specifically in Bere North and some other instances whereby youths were used very badly to cause mayhem and, cause havoc, intimidate people and stuff like that. And it was so unfortunate that, some people would just, goons actually, would just walk in front of the police service with the batons and crude weapons. That specifically tells you that, there's a lot of joblessness and the youths are being used ile kutumika vibaya venye tunasema pale mtani. And it was so unfortunate that the youths are always available to cause violence or to be used on such ways. And coming back to you and the statement, oftenly used by former DP Rigathi Gachagua. Well, that is very unfortunate because it is the way the politicians, use the youths and statements they make to make sure that they garner votes on their side. And saying that it is just a political strategy or something like that, kura kwa tukule pesa lakini, the statement made by DP, former DP, you cannot bury the elephant with its horns. Wezi mzika ndovu na pembe zake, because the most important thing in an elephant, of course, for the fact that it is an animal that should be respected, the most important thing is the husks or the tusks. So it is a very bad statement because we should not be exploiting people and then doing the other way around, or rather, I would just say this in a nutshell: it is the use of money to lure people into voting.
All right, now, Mr. Morema, do you share the same views as Mr. Tobiko, having in mind that people say that has been the narrative that people have been using actually for most of the electoral process over the years, and having in mind, of course, the statements made by Gachagua during his campaign trails that ukipewa pesa kula, lakini ukipiga kura ujue unapigia nani kura. Do you share the same thoughts as him?
Partly I concur with him, but let's first highlight it as it is. Gachagua is a very incompetent person, having held office a quarter term, not even full term. That shows that his ability in leadership is questionable. When you find a person speaking about, making some utterances on live television or in a public space, that shows that those are the last kicking, the term, how does it say, the last kicking what of a dying horse, something of
the last kicks of a dying horse.
Exactly. It is merely the same thing, and he needs to move on. He doesn't have to be bitter all through. And over the years, and even in Africa at large, money has been a bargaining power when it comes to the leadership, and not anytime soon are we going to see the changes, but we hope in the near future that the culture of bribery or using the monetary value to lure and mobilize votes will be abolished, or eventually it will die, and we focus more on the ideological perspectives of a person. We focus more on service delivery rather than proving a point who can do more in terms of monetary value. And that culture is in Kenya, not only in the the ruling party or any other thing. I'm not saying that our party used money. No, people were very genuine. And if Gachagua made those statements, that means that he knows best how it is done, and it was bad utterances. And we hope in the near future people will resonate well with their candidates rather than choosing the monetary aspect in terms of voting.
All right. Now, Tobiko, coming to you, and most of the times that we've seen, politicians coming to us with the agenda, there's no one time that, the Mwananchi goes to the politician and say, this is our agenda, we want it to be implemented in ABC way. Do you see, do you see this changing anytime soon? And of course, should it change? Mwananchi going to the politician and saying these are our issues, we want it to be implemented in ABC way, rather than the politicians coming with his agendas?
Well, I think it should be a two-way traffic kind of thing, because both parties should understand each other, and especially the politicians should understand the Mwananchi and what the Mwananchi wants. Well, in this case, there should be priorities, and the priorities should be on what the Mwananchi wants, because the Mwananchi, the common Mwananchi, of course, wants basic development, and just to make life very simple. And of course, if the common Mwananchi would want an hospital first instead of electricity, then it should be that way, because that is the priority. Instead of the politician coming and launching maybe other projects that would not help the common Mwananchi at the very basic level. So I'd say that the politicians should put the interest of the Mwananchi and the wishes of the common Mwananchi very first in their manifestos, and there should be just a correlation between the two parties, that is the Mwananchi and the politician in this case. And that would be very much okay, because this is the person who has employed you, and you would do as your employer would want. So if the common Mwananchi wants A, B, C, D, you should not start from D, C, B, A. Yeah, that is it.
Now, Mr. Sure, coming, when you look at the just concluded by-election, it is a clamor for supremacy. The political class prove that we must prove that we are the supreme. Of course, they say, sovereignty and lies with the people. Now, is the Mwananchi still the front and center of all this?
Thank you, Martin. I think based on the results, we're able to say that still Mwananchi has an upper stake when it comes to this decision making and pertaining leadership in this country. And why am I saying this? In the just concluded election, especially where I'm from at the moment to here, I was in Kisii for the by-elections in the three wards. That is Nyamaiya, Nyansiongo, and sorry, the other one has gone, but the three wards.
They were in Nyamira County, right?
In Nyamira County, yes. And we had candidates in each of the wards in Nyamira County. But unfortunately, we didn't claim any seats out of the three. But we came in second in all the posts, and that shows that still, despite being in government, despite the affiliation or the supremacy of a party and its rally behind specific candidates, and putting in the weight so that they can cling the positions, still the Mwananchi have the say on who they want. Still they have the power to decide for themselves and to choose the kind of people that they want. And as for me, I would say the Mwananchi have a say in the election, as much as parties are involved, individuals are involved. At the end of the day, the person who goes home sits, reflects their issues, and analyzes and internalizes them very well. I think it is the common Mwananchi. So they stand an upper hand in the decision making of their leadership. All right, now Mr. Tobiko.
Yes.
Having viewed this whole process of the campaigning trails and the by-elections, from where you sit, political class the clamor for supremacy in the political class, and do you think the Mwananchi is actually the front and center of this particular conversation?
From my observation of what happened during the first day of campaigns, not even during the first day, because these people started campaigning even before the official campaign started, and that is a very bad culture. It has been a culture in Kenya since time immemorial, that each and every end of elections, it is the start of another campaign. And of course, it is always putting, the Mwananchi at the center of all these things. And, the opposition coming in, wrestling against the government of the day, all through politics, and stuff like that. And specifically on these elections, by-elections that just concluded last night, I'd say that, it has been a supremacy battle, as you put it. And the common Mwananchi has not been at the center, because the by-elections were taken as a fact of, or as a way of proving a point who is who in this politics towards 2027. The government unleashed its all machineries. Some people have not been at their home counties for months. People like Farouk Kibet, who is the president's PA, has been camping in Malava since the start of these by-elections. People like the people leaders affiliated to the former DP Rigathi Gachagua have been camping in Mount Kenya, and forgetting maybe their constituencies and stuff like that. So it is about who is who, and not the common Mwananchi, because for the side of the government, even cabinet ministers went and campaigned for an MCA, in Kisa East constituency, where DCP clinched that seat, and that is the bedroom of, Kotu General Secretary Atwoli. And you see, it is a matter of, who is stronger towards 2027. And that statement has been made. And I will still go back to my, statement that despite the fact that my friend here and his party, UDM, has clinched all the member of parliament, seats, save for the fact that they are in broad-based government, where ODM has won in Magarini, Ugunja, and Kasipul. And I'd say that we still go back to the numbers. Numbers don't lie. And of course, there's still a lot of work to do. Of course, the government has won, or the ruling party has won, for that fact. But there is still, a commanding figure from the opposition side. But on the way the politics were carried, there is little to be said about the common Mwananchi, because everything was about, elect this leader because of this and this and this, elect this leader because of this and this. And a lot of money was being used in the campaigns, both sides. A lot of money was being used. The opposition is not, exposed to the treasury and, the resources of the government. But the government used a lot of money. Millions of money were being used for the campaigns. And if we were to use this money for development, we would have been a very different country. All right. We would be first world, as they put it.
All right. Now, Mr. Shure, let's talk about the just concluded elections, the IEBC. We've said it is a litmus test for the IEBC, even as we head to the 2027 general elections. Now, from where you sit, from where you viewed the elections, of course, it was marred by chaos, violence. We've seen cars vandalized, of course, on the front page of the Standard newspaper. We saw also Justin Muturi yesterday clashing with, a public servant who wore a yellow jacket. He was saying that, he was advertising UDA. And from where you sit, how the IEBC has conducted the elections, who is failing who? Is it, the security personnel? Who's failing who?
Okay, thank you, Martin, for the question. I think the IEBC, so far, they have dispatched their mandate according to law. Still, they are still new in office, still learning, and it is a wake-up call to them, especially on the coming election in 2022. Reason being, we just saw the chaos happening. We saw the blame games happening, you know, wearing of a colored outfit. But, you know, sometimes, you know, outfits are made to be worn, and colors cannot determine, you know, because they were, that is how they were made. If I decide today to wear green, it doesn't mean I belong to DCP. Right. If I wear yellow, it doesn't mean Paragon. You know, yes, colors symbol parties, but I think the IBC needs to do voter sensitization. They need to do, you know, the talks so that they enlighten the public, their servants, and any person who is directly involved with elections on what to and what not to in regards to the 2027 election. So they still have time to improve. They still have time to readjust and come up with the strategies to ensure that nothing pertaining these by-elections is reflected come 2022. And for Justin Muturi, as I conclude, that was very unfortunate for a former Attorney General to engage a public servant, and also to engage a very peaceful voter. And despite the fact that he had his candidate and he had all the ways to approach it, that was not the best. And I think he needs to sit down and reflect on his approach as a lawmaker, and not take law into his own hands, and, you know, dealing with situations the way they are.
You know, Martin, I'd say that you know, my friend here should
and
understand.
Yes,
should understand also that after campaigns, or rather, campaigns end one day towards the D-Day, the elections day, and of course, you know, it is very clear, even in the IBC code of conduct during the day of the elections, that voters and candidates should not put on anything that symbolizes the party they are affiliated with. That is to say, on colors of the clothes they are putting on, the hats, and maybe even the way they talk and even the way they walk, they should not be seen to be campaigning in any way. So theirs is just to put on any other clothes. You you know, say that that person alikuwa amekosa maybe nguo nyingine akaamua kuvalia yellow.
It is very possible.
It is not possible because on those other days maybe would have, he was putting on other clothes. So on the same very day of elections, you would not put on colors affiliated to a political party. That would generally mean you are campaigning.
But
and
my question is,
the fact that, you know, JB Muturi, I hoped he did not rough him up, but would rather tell him in a soft way, you know, you are campaigning, my friend, this is very wrong, just walk out go and change, put on a maroon shirt and come back.
The focus is on the UDA side, and when the same thing happened to Cleo Malala and his candidates, no one said, because Cleo Malala came to a polling station with his candidate wearing the DCP cap. No one is talking about it, but
it should be talked about.
Every other person is talking about UDA.
No,
that shows that, you know, some people are just, you know.
Fair enough.
The law cuts, wanasema msumeno ukata mbele na nyuma.
Put to justice the DCP people.
Yeah, they should not be wearing the same case.
All right. Now, even as we wind up, under 1 minute, Mr. Tobiko, and we've said that this is a litmus test for the IBC, and of course, already questions are lingering on how the IBC have conducted their elections. And to some extent, DCP leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, said that if you know, the elections, if they bungled the election, they might not trust the conduct or the IBC to conduct 2027 the elections. Is, you know, where are we as far as trust is concerned? Under 1 minute, kindly.
Well, I'd say maybe in a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rate the trust of IBC on the politician side, and of course that is the united opposition, at, let's say, 6, because even before the by-election started, there were several, statements made by both several leaders affiliated with the United Opposition, and that tells you that, they are poking, holes on this state agency that is mandated to conduct general, elections in the country. So IEBC should improve in its conduct, and of course their transparency should be top-notch. And from the way these elections have been done, of course they have a lot to do, and especially on what I noted yesterday, they are taking a lot of time. There is a lot of efficiency problems with the IEBC because, by 5 elections were supposed to be done, and elections to do with the MCAs, the lowest level of elections, the counting should be done by 8. But, they are dragging us up until, 10 p.m. So you can imagine the way they would be doing the counting and the verification process in the general elections in 2027.
All right.
So I'd say IEBC should improve and should work on its efficiency and improve even furthermore on the trust, especially on Kenyans.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time to be with us here on the program. And of course, you can see that time is far much gone. And of course, I want to pave way for the next program, that is the Leadership Challenge, that is coming up next in the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Mr. Engineer Sure Morema, for making time to be with us here this particular morning. He is an youth leader under UDA, of course, an aspiring member of parliament for
County Assembly.
Oh, member for County Assembly. All right. And Mr. Tobiko, Timothy Tobiko, is actually a digital journalist. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time to be with us here this particular morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. It is exactly 34 minutes past the top of the hour. Thank you so much, of course, for being part of this particular program. And just so you know, that's updates that's coming up, that the Mbeere North, a member of parliament, has been clinched by Leo Wamudende, who, with a total vote of 15,802 garnered votes, Ugunja constituencies has been taken by Moses Okoth with 9,447 votes, and Boyd Were declared Kasipul member of parliament elect, succeeding his late father Ongondo Were, and Ahmed Malim Hassan of UDA declared member of parliament elect for Banista constituencies. And of course, David Ndakwa wins the Malava seat. Of course, we shall be keeping tabs with these particular developing stories in regards to the by-election, of course, and the results. As far as these by-elections is concerned, I shall be bringing you bringing you up to speed, those making headlines in regards to these particular stories later on at 1 p.m. Even as we continue keeping you up to speed, what's happening from across our 47 counties, of course, across the world. All right, 35 minutes past the top of the hour. Many thanks for keeping time to be with us this morning. The Leadership Challenge is coming up to you next in the top of the hour at 9 a.m. My name is Martin Ashari. I do have yourself a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your viewing, and as always, let's do this again when God says we do.